Okay, go ahead.
So, as we previously talked, so we're proposing a message board for out front of the town hall. And it's gonna go in the area where the Domino's Pizza, was originally. We put up a mock-up of a, size to kind of give it an idea of what it was gonna look like. It's not the exact spot of the mock-up. The two boards that are up there now will be separated a small degree, and a base will be constructed out of masonry to accept the installation of with some steel. They put them on some steel. I think they're aluminum I-beams. They go on it and they connect it the sign to that, and the sign is basically freestanding on the base. So these pictures that I brought you are something close to what we thought would look good out front. To display messages, get the word out in the town for town meetings and events, special events. This particular board does communicate with all the boards in town. So if we have important messages to get out, we can display it in different areas to try to spread the word and get people involved, get people to come to meetings. So it'll be one central. So right now, the senior center does theirs, the high school does theirs, and down here we'll designate someone to do this as well. But we can add each board to each programming system. So if we want to choose to do the high school, put a message out in front of the high school, the middle school, we can.
You need their permission to do that?
We would get together with them and pretty much put the messages out because they have an agenda on theirs. But they put a lot of sporting events out. So if it's an important message that we want to get out and we want people to get to town meeting, we'll put it on all the boards for, maybe an hour or something like that a day, during the traffic time or whatever works, I guess. I'm not too in tune to how they're gonna, how they're gonna use the sign, but the intent is to get the important messages out and get people involved and maybe, if COVID comes back or whatever happens, we can get different clinics on there.
Tell people that COVID can't.
Yeah. Tell people to stay at home. This, the picture kind of represents something close to what we want to do. We want it to look good. It's not only going to be a sign out there. We're going to form a committee and we are going to landscape that area and make it look good. Very simple, some shrubbery. We'll get the grass growing. I have a stub there for the sprinkler system where we're going to put a couple of heads up there after just to keep it so it stays nice. But that's the plan. So this estimate is from the state bid list.
So whose idea was
this came to me through Michael Connor.
Can I tell you that Dennis and I have been talking about this for a while?
Okay.
What,
Oh, wait a minute, now I'm impressed.
No.
It was Mary's idea, I mean.
Yeah. We have been talking about this for a while, before the beginning of the town center reconstruction project. And a big part of doing the town center, as well as talking about paving North Main Street and then even the Red Mill development, is to sort of generate some vibrancy in the downtown area. And rather than having these portable signboards to talk about road closures or town meeting dates, that it would be a nice inviting way for us to not only mark the municipal campus, but have a method of communicating with the public. And hopefully we're going to generate a lot more, volume or walking interest or whatever in the downtown area, so that we would be able to communicate election dates, meeting dates, even, things like planning board meetings or, things that people talk about or tend to get a little interested in, and we can use that to communicate better with the public. So it's been something that we've been talking about for quite some time, since the whole construction started in that downtown area, and thinking about Red Mill and the number of folks that are going to be moving in there.
Yeah, so the location of it, we think it's a really good spot. I mean, it's a really great angle for people coming up 126, sitting at the light, and coming from 140. So it's great exposure as far as that goes. So that's the plan.
It's an expensive sign. In the scheme of things, Mary, in an order of priority and needs, what does this fall?
So, Joe, this is obviously.
I want to I have a version if you want one.
Yeah. We talk about wants and we talk about needs. This would fall into the wants category for sure.
Okay.
But there are some wants that outweigh needs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, the money we're saving on the windows would offset this.
Oh, Jesus, my God.
I could probably do the windows under the roof.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Mike, you got any comments?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. I was broken up. What happened?
I said, do you have any comments?
No comments. He did a great presentation last night. I'm very impressed with the design.
Can I just ask one question? Tim, have you talked with both Karen and Pam and this meets their technical requirements and their ability to support it?
Yeah, I had a conversation with Pam, Karen.
Perfect. Excellent. And we have electricity out there, right?
No, but we'll run it from the museum. So we'll run a conduit to the museum.
Okay.
Okay. So I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Nay. So I done a lot with signs. This is a waste of time. That's okay. It's not mine, so I don't.
Eventually we'll be bankrupt and we'll make it.
That's right. That's right. Okay.
I'd like to get on that, sign up for Code Red, any of the messages we gotta get out there. I think it's a great idea.
I think it's definitely a good tool, for sure.
Oh, yeah, it's a tool. It's not a means.
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
I've installed variable message boards all over the place. You know what the general rule of variable message boards is? The one that's not lit is the one that's most effective. The more messages you put on, the less people read.
Read it, yeah. I can see
So
that.
your code red,
Yeah.
nobody's gonna see it. I hate to say it,
Yeah,
all right,
yeah,
but
yeah,
we
yeah.
put in the big ones that go across the interstate highway.
Yeah.
Keep them off.
Yeah.
Shut them down. You go on to the Mass Pike. You see the variable message boards up there?
Yeah.
Do you ever read them?
Tried it.
I
but
do.
Don't do fast.
Most
I see
people
the one
never
that
read
says
them.
slow down.
So Roland, to your point,
Picture in town, or
They end up
it's
with a bunch
like
of shit on
it doesn't mean anything to anybody.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I don't know, Roland, one night I was trying to drive to the airport and I always rely on that sign that's right as you enter South Boston and to tell me whether the express lane is open or not. And one night that sign was off and I went to go to the express lane and it was closed. And I ended up driving around Boston for about 20 extra minutes trying to get over to the airport. I wish that sign was on.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the probability is the sign was broken because they light it too much.
Maybe it burnt out all the bulbs.
There's no bulbs in that sign, but that's okay.
A ray of sunshine over there.
Yep, that's right. That's right. Okay.
Jesse, you better buckle up.
I know, I can't wait.
Good. Okay, Jesse.
Okay, I'm up.
You are.
I'm
dying to hear this one.
I'll be honest, I've got a lot of them, so went through it last night and, obviously tried to get as much supporting documentation as possible with each of these. And what you'll see with many of the requests, we've got comps in there. So I know one of the things that we talked about the last time around, what is the price difference to go from the existing vehicle to the upgrade that's proposed? So we do have things like existing F-250s, for example, to go to a 350. What is the price difference? Or upgrading that to a four-wheel drive. So just
The better question is why.
correct, and we'll get to that.
It's not what's the amount. The
Absolutely.
question is why.
And I hope to answer that today. So first up, I'll keep it in order of how it's laid out in the booklets here. We have a replacement for our existing B9 six-wheel salting dump truck. The quote for this reflects pricing and availability as of FY25. So with these CDL vehicles, what we're seeing is a very long lead time to build these vehicles. So essentially, the proposal is something that's going to come through right away. It's a little further down the road. So B9 does include a dump body, an 11-foot snow plow, a 10-foot underbody plow, a salter, and the side saddle tanks that add calcium as necessary. So that is under DPW. It should be the very first item. Yeah, they come across. Oh, good.
What year did the one you replaced?
So the vehicle that's being replaced is actually a listed right here, 2014. So this would be by the time it's replaced, 11 years. I have added, unfortunately, the photos haven't come out the greatest in black and white. However, I did bring some color in case anybody wants to see. But we did actually get the vehicle up on the lift. So pictures.
How many miles on it?
So this has 58,300 miles, 3,082 hours.
It's not even broken. It's a diesel, right?
It is a diesel, and the engine is not necessarily what we're concerned with on this vehicle. It's just getting into a program where we replace these vehicles. Most of what we're seeing with the heavier trucks per se is going to be rust and rot, and the body itself.
15 to 20 years.
And again, this is based on 11, but I'm just trying to get us to a point where the vehicles are on some sort of a healthy rotation. So that was the thought process behind that.
Jesse, can I bring those back?
So why isn't
Absolutely. I'm sorry.
So why isn't the process 15 to 20 as opposed to 11?
And we could certainly look at that. So part of the problem that we're seeing, and we're now stuck with for the time being, is there was no coating or preventative maintenance applied to these pieces of equipment previously. This type of technology, maybe it didn't exist, maybe it wasn't a practice that was heavily used in the industry, but they would go out and they would essentially wash the underbody. What we're doing now is twice a year, we are coating the underbody in addition to washing, obviously, but we're also applying a coating of, I always go to fluid film, but it's a similar product to fluid film. So we're getting them up on the lifts, and we're actually applying a coating to the underbody to try to preserve these as long as possible. We have done that currently with vehicles that we got from our last capital request. So we have a number of vehicles that we've applied this coating to in anticipation for an extended lifetime. So that is the thought process behind this. However, right now we are dealing with vehicles that have never had this type of coating. Again, they may have been washed in years previous, but it didn't preserve the vehicles in the way that we'd like to see them moving forward. We've taken that very seriously. The recommendation was there, and we do apply. We do intend to do this twice a year moving forward. One at the beginning of the salting season, and one to follow as the truck sits.
How come the accessories are more than the actual truck?
The accessories themselves? It's a great question. We do have, I'm sorry, out here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm not gonna say like back and back. I've got my notes on that. Massive. Thank you. I can get you copies afterwards. So there is a breakdown of what's included on page 3. Essentially, we're looking at the 11-foot plow, the dump body itself. It talks about various coatings that are applied, painted, and whatnot. We'll actually touch upon the paint portion of it a little later on because this is a difficulty we're running into on our smaller trucks. But essentially, having it set up the way that the rest of our fleet is reflected in the price here. So the price of the truck itself. At $128,900, $31,000 for the spreader, so another $6,850 for the side saddle tanks. And I agree, it's not cheap. These trucks are very expensive. Again, we're doing our best to keep up on the maintenance, things of that nature. However, these are trucks that were in existence. Additionally, there is a breakdown included. Actually, Joe, the page that you're on right now, this is detailing with our previous system any of the repairs that have gone into the vehicle and total to date. So this truck alone, since purchased, we're looking at a grand total of just over $19,000 that we put in for repairs and things of that nature. Obviously, some of it is wear and tear, but other items have been replaced.
Well, that's not bad. For 11 years, $14,000. That's cheap. That's cheap money. In the scheme of things, to maintain a vehicle, especially when you put it up against the cost of $300,000.
Yeah. And I think at the very least, it's something that we want to put on our radar as far as availability, getting it on some sort of a timeline for replacement. I think what you'll see is, this is a vehicle that would be, considered for replacement. However, there are vehicles that will be presented today that are certainly higher on the priority list.
Than this one?
Yes, yeah.
But this one's listed for this year.
That's the proposal. And again, the request is basically to reflect that we would get the pricing in so we can make the purchase. It wouldn't actually become available until the next fiscal year.
So what's the big difference between this one and the one below it? It's $200,000 difference.
Talking B10.
B10. Oh, that's
Talking about, yeah.
so. This is a CDL vehicle. B10 is a typical F600. This is a smaller scale truck, no CDL.
So what's the dump body in it?
So the B10. You want to jump right into that now?
Well, I want to know the difference.
Oh, no, the difference.
So again, this is a full scale CDL truck. This is air brakes, the full 6-wheel package.
So what's the F600?
Now the F600, it's similar to a 550 and a 450 and a 350. It's a pickup truck essentially. It's just a heavy pickup truck. The 600, what might be throwing you off? The F600 is actually a relatively new model to Ford. Prior to that, you were probably seeing more F550s and F450s. The 600 is very similar in that the body's almost identical.
What's the difference in the dump body?
The dump body between the 600 and the 550, I believe it's another 2,000 pounds worth of payload that you can put in the 600.
Cubic yards.
Cubic yards. So again, that's going to be a much smaller bed. That is going to be a 9 or 10 foot bed.
What's the other one?
Body 9 foot 2. So a 3 cubic yard in the 600s. 3 cubic yard. This is probably
So it's like the old 110 dump trucks.
correct. Yeah, exactly.
2,000 pounds.
Yes.
Weight.
Similar to a 1-ton. Yes.
So you can't put 3 yards of anything without going over it. That's fine, but and put 3 yards of gravel.
And
It'd be very good one. And what truck is this going to replace, Jesse?
this one right here. So this is going to replace the existing B9, which is a Peterbilt 348, and it's a 2014. The reason we're switching from a Peterbilt, I can see that's already coming, is to keep our fleet uniform. So right now we have a mix.
You got a Peterbilt that's not even 10 years old yet, and you're telling me you got to replace it.
So again, we're trying to get it in line with for replacement as far as what we're seeing with rust, things of that nature. And essentially keeping up on it, so we do get a longer life out of it moving forward. Again, I can share the photos with you. It's something that is happening currently. However, I understand. It's certainly something that's.
And the Peterbilt is diesel, right?
Oh yeah. This is a diesel replacement. So for clarity, on these larger trucks, the diesel is the only option.
Okay, so the F600,
the F600 that we'll get to is a gas. That's a gas, and we'll touch upon that a bit further too. You want to continue on B9, or do you want me to jump into B10?
I'm not a recluse. I can't see why we're replacing a truck that's not even 10 years old.
And again,
if you guys are destroying them within 10 years, you got to get different drivers, because a Peterbilt should last you 20 years. And you only got 50,000 miles on the damn thing. That truck's not even broken in yet.
I think a lot of the problem too is, they sit, they rust, they rot. They're not getting a lot of use in the summer months, but when we need them in the winter months, that's when it becomes an issue. It's, we've experienced breakdowns in the past. We've experienced a lot of vehicles out of service. The intention here is to get ahead of that, so we don't have as many vehicles that are not in service while we're trying to fight snowstorms and things of that nature. So
Okay, so the problem, I don't, so the problem that I have with this,
Hmm.
all right, is I deal mostly with the main turnpike.
Yep.
A lot of snow, a lot of salt. All of their trucks are in excess of 15 years old. They don't even think about getting rid of a truck until it's at least 15 or more. So I'm looking at this and I'm saying, okay, what's going wrong? You know, are we buying the wrong vehicle? Are we just not dealing with it the way we need to deal with it? I mean, these are not cheap trucks.
no, absolutely not.
You know, it's
Right.
like, and frankly, I probably won't be here in 11 years when you come back to replace this truck. But I'm looking at this saying, what the hell? Because I even see this useful life 11 to 15. It's the wrong number.
The wrong number.
It ought to be 15 to 20.
Yeah.
All right, and I'm looking at it from a realistic standpoint. This is not theoretical for me.
Hmm.
I see this all the time. You know, the turnpike doesn't buy 1 or 2 trucks.
Sure.
They go out for a fleet of 5 or 6 every year. So I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, geez, what the hell's going on? You know, they're not paying any more than you're paying.
Correct.
Matter of fact, most of the time they're paying a little less. So I'm kind of like confused.
Yep. Yeah, and again,
And it's not, you know, so you can't sell me on, oh, well, we're changing our methods because they've been doing this for 75 years. And they don't have the spray undercoating and everything. They do clean their vehicles. I know that.
sure, yeah.
So I'm kind of bewildered.
Out of curiosity, and this is a serious question. The type of treatment process that they apply, is it liquid? Is it salt? I'm truly curious.
It's a combination.
It's a combination. So.
They actually have the tanks and they pre-wet their salt.
Yeah.
But they use almost 100% salt.
Yep.
I mean, and sometimes they spray liquid calcium chloride.
Yeah.
But most of the time, it's salt that's been treated.
Right.
So it's
right.
pre-wetted. Usually it's pre-wetted when they put it in, and then they have tanks. So they actually wet it as it's going down again.
That's what we do.
So, you know, it's not.
No, I understand absolutely, and like I
and,
said,
and frankly, they've been doing this for a long, long time.
Right.
And they didn't have the spray tanks early on.
Right.
I can remember when they used to wet with water. Okay, because in case everybody's wondering, you know, you wet the salt because in lower temperatures, rock salt is not as effective. When it gets below 15 degrees, you might as well shovel crap on the road. It doesn't make any difference. But if you wet the salt, because what happens is the salt needs moisture in order to activate. If it's too cold, you don't get moisture. So you have to wet it instead.
Yeah, he's
that.
absolutely correct. Yes. Salt.
This ain't new to me.
No, absolutely. No, I'm fully aware of that.
Jesse, you have a master sheet with your inventory of your rolling stock,
Yes, we do.
with the miles, the hours.
I don't have it
And
included
years.
here, but I absolutely have an inventory of our master fleet. And essentially, we did implement a new program. It's not going to do us any good right here and now, but moving forward, we have a new program that takes into consideration items like repair items, or it's essentially a vehicle fleet maintenance program. So it's just more involved in something that we've had in the past. So right now I provided things like Excel spreadsheets.
Yep.
Moving forward, we'll have more extensive breakdown of exactly what was replaced.
How many CDL vehicles do you have?
In total, we have seven routes that we currently have. I believe one of those 7 is just it's a backup. It's something that will go away at some point. We're trying to get as much useful life out of it as we can.
And what's the oldest?
I believe so. Up until B would be 19. It's probably a 1990s-ish truck, but that is the vehicle. It's our backup. When it goes out, it typically would break down. So we have it as a backup in the event that something else happens with one of these other vehicles. But it's not a fantastic backup because it's also the worst vehicle in the fleet. So it's more likely that vehicle's gonna break anyways.
I think this is a silly question. Why wouldn't you get rid of that one?
It's already been replaced. So that's
So
just
it's not the oldest
we're
vehicle.
right. Well, we're hanging on to it. We haven't actually auctioned it off just yet. We have it as a backup in the event that we have no other choice.
So it's a spare, you don't really assign anybody to it.
Correct. Yeah. So it's just sitting there for
I'd
now.
like to see what the ages of your
Sure,
CDL trucks are.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because quite frankly, when you're doing a Western Star or a Peterbilt, 15 to 20 years, you know, we went through this before. Diesel engines
Oh yeah, absolutely. And the
Yeah.
engine's really not the problem. It's the body.
Yeah.
You know, the body, the frame. The engine. I agree with you.
Oh,
Joe. The engine lasts.
The body is a problem of maintaining it.
Right.
It-
And I can't say it enough. You know, this is something that we've inherited. And I'm not saying that anything was done wrong in the past either. I'm just saying different practices are now being tried to try to preserve these. Again, I think that, you know, those involved in the past did a fantastic job. However, we're trying different means and methods to try to preserve them, maybe in an effort to get to that point what we're talking about exactly. And like I said, we learned a lot after the last capital improvement meeting. You know, we have things like a wash schedule. Honest to goodness, we are using a wash schedule. Every time these vehicles get washed, whether it's interior, exterior, the underbody coating is applied, we notated it accordingly. So we've taken that very seriously. Items that we saw, such as salt sitting on the actual salter in the off season. We've talked to the crew about this thing and told them, you know, this is something we've got to pay attention to. It's unacceptable, quite frankly. So we've taken this very seriously. So our approach on it is deal with what we have now, but maintain the vehicles and equipment that we get moving forward to a higher level of expectation. Not try to get to a point where they're going to last.
So just because I'm confused, I'm easily confused. So if everybody said, yeah, okay, go ahead and do this. So you got a Peterbilt that's 11 years old, and you got a vehicle that you're keeping as a spare that's a 1990.
Sure. Yep. So
which one's going?
We would essentially bump out that older vehicle, and that Peterbilt's, you know, we would hope to, you know, have as a vehicle that maybe we don't auction off right away, but we have the ability to maybe get 1 or 2 seasons out of it as a backup. That would be the thought process, at least.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Jump into B10.
We want to do them all at once, or we want to do them one at a time?
That's completely up to you.
Actually, so in terms of, well, I guess we can vote on everything, but what we really have to vote on today is the 2 trucks and your roadside trackless mower, snow blower, plow, toy.
That one I prepped you for.
You did, huh?
That one I prepped you for.
So, do we want to do them one at a time, or?
Yeah, I mean,
Do you want to do the 2
That's-
trucks?
that's fine. I mean, you can do one at a time, because quite frankly, I'm not precluded to vote in favor of replacing a truck that is only 11 years old, and the other one's 9 years old. I'm sorry, Jesse.
No, that's
Your
quite all right.
repair
That's
bills
all-
don't document the need to replace that truck.
Yeah.
If we're maintaining that truck for $1,900 a year, you got a deal.
So Joe, can I ask a question?
Yeah,
Are there, I'm not a mechanic or an auto body person, so are there specific remediation steps that we can take to extend the life of existing vehicles if we're not looking at replacing them, given the conditions that Jesse has described?
So the single biggest thing in my mind that would make you want to get rid of a truck immediately actually isn't the body, it's actually the frame. If the frames are gone, then the problem is it can't support the load. So you may run into all kinds of problems. The body is the last thing on my list because you can always fix the body. If push came to shove, you could actually buy a new body and replace it, literally. Now, it's going to cost you some money, and it's going to be a pain in the neck because the truck has to come out of service for, I'm going to guess, 5 or 6 weeks after you have the body. And you probably want to send it out because I don't think our mechanics would be prepared to do that.
yeah, you'd want to send that to a truck body shop.
Right. You know, so it's really, it's real, the single biggest thing is the frame. I can tell you that in my experience, again, with the Maine Turnpike, because I deal so closely with them, they've actually changed out engines. All right, $6,000 or $7,000 for an engine because it's a hell of a lot cheaper than $384,000.
Yep.
So the real question is what's the body? Most of the dump bodies now, especially if you're using it for salt bodies, are coming through as either stainless steel or aluminum. So you don't have to worry very much about those because they're getting the higher grade stainless or the better aluminum so that they don't pit and they don't rust very easy. The old steel bodies used to be a problem. The steel dump bodies. That's not what you're getting anymore. At least I don't think.
Well, we're getting a steel body. And I don't know why we
Are
don't.
we?
It is quoted as a steel body. Yeah.
I don't know why they don't put aluminum.
We could. It's just an added.
I know it's an added cost, but it's aluminum, so you don't have to
Yep.
worry about the salt sitting in the corner
absolutely.
rustling through.
So, you know, so that's kind of, the big things is Washington, like Jesse made a comment about, you know, in the summertime, they notice, you know, a little bit of salt in a body someplace. That can't happen. I'm gonna tell you something, after every single snowstorm, these trucks ought to be washed. And I mean washed with a 3-inch hose or an 1.5-inch hose under pressure, clean all the salt right out of that body. Now, if you're using the separate salt body, that's a different thing. Leave that in there because those are stainless steel.
Yep.
Those are all
Yep.
stainless.
Yep.
Yeah,
But
all stainless, huh?
Yeah, those are. Yeah.
Yeah, but in terms of the regular dump body,
Yeah.
those have to be washed. And actually, if you've got an active, which I presume all of the salt bodies now are active, where they've got the chain drive.
They are chain drive. Yes.
So you gotta wash those.
Yep. Absolutely.
Those have to be cleaned. The more crap you leave in that thing, the more they die.
Well, not only do we wash them, we also lube them at the end of the year as
Okay.
well. So yeah, absolutely. And again, we take it very seriously. We are up on the washing. We've got unfortunately, we don't have a wash bay that incorporates the nozzles and gets underneath. So we do have equipment that, you know, you wheel under. It's got the power jets that go underneath. You know, so the crew's doing a fantastic job. I can't say that they're doing a bad job by any stretch of the imagination. However, it does take a bit of training to make sure they're aware of every area that they should be getting. And I agree with you. You know, the frame is really the biggest concern. It's something that, you know, once that goes, you're affecting the structural integrity. You know, and we're dealing with substantial amounts of weight. I mean, let's face it, we're carrying around not only the salter, but the load itself.
Some of the things I think I noticed in this new truck is you're actually putting in a heavier frame. 120 KSI, 11 and 1/8 by 3 and 9/16 by 7/16, heavy duty frame rail.
Is it a single rail or dual rail?
So I believe this was I could be wrong. That's a good question because to be honest with you, I would prefer a single just because it's less of an area for salt to end up packed in. It actually doesn't highlight the frame, Joe, from what I'm seeing. No, it doesn't. I can certainly ask the question though. So anyways, like I was stating, you know, this is something that, you know, obviously we salt the streets, we plow, trying to get it in line with, you know, a maintenance schedule that fits, keeping up on these vehicles. You know, we just want to provide a level of service to the public that we're known to do. And I get it, you know, and in the grand scheme of things, you know, 15 to 20 years, if you're seeing in other communities, it is a difference, absolutely. But I think one of the biggest key takeaways that we're seeing moving forward is applying this type of body code and increased wash schedules, things of that nature, to try to preserve them to the level that we're expecting to see.
So those pictures that you have that we can't make out, are these of what?
Yeah, these are, so we got them up on the lifts here. And essentially just some of the items, the connections, frame itself, the body, so you can get an idea of what the current condition actually is. Obviously, the picture's worth 1,000 words.
Yeah, which one is this?
That's still the same truck that we're talking about, B9.
Is this an undercoat?
110.
That's actually the painting on the frame itself. Yeah, it's just peeling away, chipping away. We did not.
Because I'm looking at this and
Right.
the big thing with frames.
Yep.
Is section loss.
Yep.
Am I losing section or not? And I can't tell from these photos. I see a little bit of flaking, but like especially on these connections right here. But on a lot of the frame, like I look at this, I don't see very much section loss in these pieces.
In full disclosure, on the older vehicles, we did not apply that coating that we talked about in fear that it would actually trap the moisture and make it actually even worse. So you will not find it on any of the photos that I provided as far as the underbody coating. We just want to try to make it last as long as we can without actually going the complete opposite direction.
Well, what do you mean by section?
So when you have a frame, the frame has a certain thickness, right? And when you look at rust, there's a couple of things you look at. One of them is you measure section loss. So if it's supposed to be this thick, and because of erosion of the steel, it's only this thick, you've lost section. But if you've got a little bit of flaking on the outside, but you don't have very much section loss, you've still got the same strength, or almost the same strength. So it's not, it may look bad, but it may not be bad. Right? We do that all the time when we look at steel bridges and stuff. We do the same thing. But
yeah, makes sense.
Now I'm gonna go check out bridges.
So you'll feel better.
okay, all right.
Okay. Want to jump into B10? Oh, sorry.
So do we have anything, because like this says future years, and there isn't, I don't see any other trucks listed in future years.
Yeah, and it is something I will admit we've got to work on to improve for future requests. Being newer to the process, I brought forward what we're hoping for in the near future, but absolutely that is part of the plan. I'll have a better outlook, moving forward. To be honest with you, I just didn't have the time or the ability to put it together at this point, but fully anticipate to do so. A 5-year projection is really what we're looking for.
Okay. Mary, you got anything you want to add to this?
No, well, to that, yeah, of course. To that point, Roland, one of the things that the DPW department did in the past year is that they implemented some new software to help manage their fleet and their repairs and their maintenance. And one of the things that
Jesse mentioned that.
Yeah. And so we did not expand this schedule for future years, even though I know in my 5 years of working with you, Roland, that's what we'd like to get to. And so we still need to work on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So as an example, the main turnpike has 87 plow trucks. Yeah. All of them CDL.
Yeah, nice.
And we have a replacement schedule for those.
Yep, and that's exactly.
It looks at 15 to 20 years, and it's not absolute, because we still look at the condition of the truck. Does it actually warrant being replaced?
Yep.
And then they have a fleet of pickup trucks, and I mean, they have everything you'd love to have.
Yeah.
But they're very meticulous about doing that because they don't want they recognize the cost of these things.
Yeah, absolutely.
In every way.
Absolutely. Yeah. And to be honest with you, and I hope that's what you're seeing by some of the recommendations that we had during the last meeting. We do take this very seriously. I want to get to that point, as do all of us. And I think we've got a lot of buy-in. Okay. It's just going to be a matter of getting to that point.
All right, let's get to B10.
Okay. All right, so B10, this is an F600. For clarification, this is a smaller scale truck. This is a 110 essentially with heavier duty suspension and brakes. We do have a couple of F600s in the fleets. This would be a replacement for an F550. And the reason for that is we're trying to go a little bit more rugged with it. It would hold the weight a little bit better. And the cost to get to that point isn't substantial enough that we felt that it would be without reason. So essentially, we're looking to upgrade when possible, have a heavier duty truck. For that reason exactly. So if we have a load of salt in the back of the truck with the sander, with the plow, with everything that we add to it, we've got a lot of weight. Why wouldn't we put ourselves in a better position to handle that weight, prolong the life of the truck?
So why don't you just go out by 10 wheelers?
The 10-wheel truck. Well,
I'm being sarcastic, with
ab-
this, but you know, it's
absolutely.
like, okay, how much bigger do we need to get? Because the next time you come in, you're gonna say, oh, you know, I wanna go from this to this.
Yep. So the idea behind this is to go to, we'll keep it as large as possible, but suitable for the job that we're looking to accomplish. So in addition to the winter operations, this does get used during the summer as well. So having the smaller dump truck is very beneficial. Those tight areas, if you're working on there's a lot of narrow roads in Bellingham, the 10-wheel isn't always the best option for it. So these little trucks do have a lot of use outside of the winter season. So we're trying to make it a little bit more rugged. Brakes will last longer. The suspension will handle the load a bit better. I think the frame is actually the same, but for the cost difference, in my opinion, it makes sense to upgrade it.
What does it cost?
So something like this, I believe, I added the schedule. Pull it up. I think this was about $3,000 from the 550 to 600. However, we're saving money by proposing gas vehicles as well, and we'll touch upon that a little farther as well. So a 550 base price $52,664. 600 $55,884. So 52.6, 55.8.
What I can't understand is why you're going to a gas motor.
Yep, great question. So, and I hope I prepared for this enough because this question did come up the last time as well. This was driven by a few different factors. First and foremost, our mechanics. I take their input on these types of things very seriously because obviously they need to work on the vehicles. The gas engines are something that they can handle repairing in-house much more efficiently than something like a diesel. I understand the idea behind the diesel is you get much more longevity out of it. However, what they're experiencing, many municipalities, not just Bellingham, many municipalities are experiencing with the new diesels, the emission systems, the DEF. A lot of problems with those with municipalities simply because they don't have the opportunity to get up on the highway or really get that engine moving the way that it's intended, it's designed. So with a lot of idle time, these systems are backing up, they're creating problems, and they're experiencing rapid replacement on these systems. So I am a diesel fan, believe me. I see the potential behind them. There's a lot of benefit with diesel. You get a lot more torque out of it. However, speaking with various sources, our mechanics, even the salesmen for these vehicles, they would love to sell us a more expensive vehicle. However, they're recommending to various municipalities gas engines simply because they're not experiencing the issues with the emission systems that they were not previously experiencing. So I believe they referenced 2006. That was kind of the turning point where the emissions really made a big change.
Was Ford putting Ford diesels in it, or are they putting a Cummins?
I believe these are all Ford diesels.
That's the problem. And it's not the speed that cleans out your system.
It's the
RPMs.
Correct.
So
Correct.
if you need more RPMs, go down a gear and you'll run at 1,800 RPMs or 1,900 RPMs on a back street at 15 miles an hour. It's not a question of, I gotta get on the highway to do 60 to make this clean out. It's gonna clean out based on your RPMs.
Yeah, and a lot of what we do too, I mean, let's face it, there's a lot of idle time. So while that vehicle's sitting there idling, it's wreaking havoc on that system. And I see your point, Joe. I don't disagree with you, but I also don't ride around in the vehicle with the guys and tell them to drop it down into first gear and do that exactly.
You're an automatic, right?
Yeah.
What are they, 6-speed, 8-speed?
I believe they're 6 speeds, yeah.
So you should be able to plow with 3rd or 4th speed. Instead of lugging it in 5th or 6th.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, I don't drive with the guys while they're plowing, but they probably just put it in drive and go, to be honest with you. And I'm not saying I disagree with you.
Because you got the same problems with gas engines.
As far as
The EFI system.
yeah, so it's really the emission systems.
Yeah, you're gonna have the same problem.
Yeah, so the gas, however they design it, I mean, there is no DEF system on the gas, but they're not at least experiencing the same
system.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But I think when something like that goes, it's a lot cheaper to replace than a $10,000 emission system for a diesel. And I get it. Nothing's cheap. You know, it's believe me, it's amazing how expensive some of these.
I don't
things
think you're gonna get the life out of your gas engine. You're gonna get out of
I will say, knock on wood, we've had fantastic luck with the gas engines and the diesels. You know, I won't say that we've had a tremendous amount of issues with diesels either. However, they are warning us that if we're going with a new vehicle, historically speaking, municipalities have experienced more issues with diesels, the DEF systems, than a gas truck. So again, going back to the reliability, they've been reliable. The gas engines, we haven't replaced gas engines in our vehicles. You know, it doesn't happen. It's really comes down to the body, the frame, you know, the electrical system, things of that nature. But the engines have lasted. Ford has a new engine. It's a newer engine. It's a very old, reliable platform. They call it their Godzilla is what they dub it, but it's a 7.3 pushrod engine that generates a lot of torque down low, which is exactly what we're looking for. So they're getting a lot of low range power out of this 7.3 liter gas engine, not the old 7.3 diesel. So, and I understand, you know, you're not going to push the torque numbers out of a gas that you're going to get out of a diesel. However, the around town driving that we do, we don't need the, you know, 800 foot-pounds of torque that, you know, people are buying nowadays. It's just it's overkill. You know, we're fine with the 500 or so that they're getting out of these gas engines, and we've got a couple of them. You know, they've been fantastic. You pair that with a 10-speed transmission.
But the CDL is a diesel.
That's the only way you can get them, and that is not a Ford engine for the record.
Are they Cummins?
Yeah, exactly.
They're Cummins or Detroit, the other two guys left bacon. So
I think Caterpillar too, if I'm not
Caterpillar,
mistaken.
but gets out of the league.
Yeah, and again, I'm a kind of person. I'm a truck guy. I do understand, but the frustrations behind municipal life is, you know, this is in town. I mean, do we really need to spend the extra $10,000 to $12,000 on a diesel engine that will get the same life out of the gas? Again, what I'm proposing here, most of these aren't engine failures. It's the body or frame itself.
Okay. Mike, do you have anything to say or questions? Mike?
Yeah, no, you know, Jesse did a good presentation last night. I know some of his requests, Michael Connors recommended other sources of funding rather than capital. You know, for some of the vehicles that Jesse was looking at. But beyond that, I don't have really any questions.
Okay. Yeah, and basically what he's referring to is obviously we have the enterprise funds that we'll get into, just as far as how we can pay for some of these, or how we could, you know, offset it to maybe lessen some of the burden. Again, we'll get into that a little farther as we get along. Okay. And one last thing to touch upon, it's kind of a minor detail in the grand scheme of things. One of the problems that we are experiencing with these Ford trucks, or smaller trucks, if you will, is color availability. So we're trying to make our fleet uniform. We went from a maroon at one point, an orange, to a green. We can't get these colors anymore. They're coming through white, and what it's coming down to is having to pay to paint them. In my opinion, I think it would make sense. Take the whites, maybe change our fleet to a white color, and do what a lot of municipalities are doing, and put a stripe down the side of it. So if it's highway, for example, we would put an orange stripe on it. If it's water related, a blue stripe. We can still designate what the vehicle is without having to pay an auto body shop to pay $6,000 or so.
Like just wrap the cab.
You could wrap it. You could wrap it. Absolutely. Just, you know, from a financial standpoint,
It's a lot cheaper than $6,000 paint job.
You got it. You got
Especially
it.
on a new vehicle.
You got it. Exactly.
Can we wrap it and sell advertising on it?
Yeah. So again, yeah.
They can put the advertising right in the wrap area. You tell them what you want in there, and it just prints it out perfectly.
We would do that, but we don't want to steal your thunder with your sign. You can advertise.
We won't need the sign. We'll just drive around. Touche, Roland. Touche.
Okay.
So yeah, the thought process on that was, you know, maybe consider moving to a white fleet and having some sort of way to designate. It's just very expensive. We've had to do it on a vehicle already, not realizing that this is a sign of things to come. It's going to continue this way. But historically speaking, white has always been available. You know, if it makes sense to change our fleet to white, save the money, maybe have some other way to indicate what it's actually used for. You know, I'm all ears. I've seen other communities where they've done this and they've actually incorporated like a reflective stripe. So you're actually adding a layer of safety for that matter too. So, just a thought.
Yeah.
Just wrap the doors.
Yeah, and we already do the town seal if we incorporate the
A
ramp.
lot of things going on. I mean,
No,
they use the stripes on the backside. They use the stripes on the sides.
Yeah.
Main turnpike has gone to green lights.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love the idea.
Much better. I would have never believed it. Much better visibility. It's so soft.
What, like?
The green.
Yeah,
stripes.
I believe some towns around here have done that. I think Sharon, maybe.
Have they officially designated it as municipal DPW worker? I know there was a lot of back and forth on that in Mass at least, but that was one of the items that they were talking about getting through for you know, specifically designating it to DPW Public Works, the green lights, you know, because it's so visible.
Okay, next.
Okay, next, our very problematic tool here, our trackless. We talked about this a little bit the last capital request. When we were talking about sweepers, you know, I made a comparison to our trackless, which was breaking constantly. This is essentially our sidewalk machine. We have 2 of these in town, and they take care of our winter ops for clearing the snow, whether it be the V-plow, the snow blower, you know, things of that nature. Or in the summertime, it has a dual purpose where we also send it out to clear brush and things of that nature. Oh, I'm sorry, I jumped ahead a little bit. My apologies, I can get back on this one. Next up is actually an aluminum trench box. That's going to be moved. That was a mistake on my end. That should have been in the water enterprise. So we can actually bump back the aluminum trench box. My apologies. The next one is the trackless. So this here is an MT7. It's to replace our existing MT6. The only difference here is the vintage, the era. As they get newer, they change. We had MT5 at one point. They upgraded to an MT6 to MT7 now. It's just
actually gonna fit on the sidewalk.
Yeah, it's on the sidewalk currently. Absolutely. Well, the MT6. Yeah. Yep, absolutely.
This looks too big.
Yeah, this is what we have. Yeah, it's a great question though. You just want to make sure it fits on the sidewalk. Yeah, and I do have some color photos. If it's a little easier to see. Yeah, these are just web images.
I couldn't find any dimensions or anything, but I looked at it.
No,
Jesus.
so what's it gonna say? What's the?
The dimensions are actually in there. I thought I included them. It's not. Oh, it's on the back side. So if you go to the cover sheet, it actually printed on the back side. You'll see CN wood attached. I believe this has 51-inch ribbon snowblower, 5-foot power angle triple plow, and that is a V plow. So that one actually gets even more narrow if necessary. One of the items that you'll see on this, so we've always had the snowblower, the plow, the flail mower, and the dual wheels, which are needed when you're running that flail mower. We also have an item on here for the potential for a rear sander. One of the things that we haven't done currently is add salt to our sidewalks. It's something that we can consider. If it's not an agreeable item, we could simply see the price at $7,000 for that rear sander single auger. Just for comparisons, but essentially the vehicle that we're looking to replace, it experiences a heavy amount of abuse. This is run, in the winter months, it's run in the summer, and the type of work that it's put through is very rigorous. It's very common for this thing to go out and break down, unfortunately. A lot of high wear items on this, bearings, just various items that have broken over the years. If you take a look, I've included a breakdown of what we've spent on this to date, and $42,000. It's for a small machine like this, it's pretty substantial.
Yeah, but what are you repairing? And I ask that because is it the equipment that goes on this and it's continuously breaking down because of use? I mean, sometimes you wear stuff out.
Oh,
because
definitely.
It's made to wear out.
Yeah, yeah. For example, the snow blower, we've had to replace the entire drum on it. You know, as it's gone through the motions, you know, not only do the little cutting pieces get replaced frequently, but the drum itself, after heavy use, it ran its purpose and it needed to be replaced. That was one of the, you know, more expensive items on that. You know, we've gone through other items. We've had some mechanical issues with it, but a lot of the issues are, you know, at times with the attachments. So.
Use replacement. Use replacement.
Use replacement, yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
That's expected, like you replace mow boards on your plows and things like that.
The last time we replaced one of these units, we did entertain the idea of a different company to see if we could maybe save a little bit of cost. What we're finding with that is, you know, it's really not built as rugged, it's not as powerful as the trackless type brand. I think there's a reason why a lot of municipalities use this particular model. It just has the power, it has the ability.
I was gonna ask you about skids, cat skids.
We've looked into a few different options, believe it or not. So we looked at, because this is a dual season use. You know, we use it in the summer or the spring and fall for that matter, and in the winter. You know, so we've got to make sure, to Roland's point, it fits on the sidewalks. We've got to make sure it has the power to run the flail mower. So we actually looked into maybe purchasing like a small scale tractor, like a Kubota, with a side arm on it. That would cover the summer operations, and believe it or not, it's a much cheaper alternative.
Mhm.
The problem is the sidewalks in the wintertime. To get something comparable that actually fits on the sidewalk is very difficult.
They don't have a 48-inch snow blower.
Yeah, so there are, but it's not built as rugged either. So the concern is, you know, we might have more breakdowns or maybe not as much of a life frame on this, or life window on this. So we looked into things like, you know, even a UTV. We've seen them in, you know, like schools and things like that use it to clear their lots. But unfortunately, the problem is, again, the width. It won't even fit on the sidewalk. So you can equip it with these pieces of equipment, but to be compliant, to fit down the sidewalks, a lot of it doesn't even apply. So we did do extensive research to try to get something maybe comparable, because I'll be honest, one of the most difficult items with the trackless brand is it's out of Canada. So to get any of the parts, if it's something that's atypical, you've got to have it actually shipped in internationally. So you're a bit more you know, behind with waiting for it to go through customs and things of that nature. So that's probably the biggest downfall with this brand in particular. It just has to get shipped in.
All right, so what is the brand?
Trackless is the brand. Yeah.
So
What does Bombardier make?
Bombardier has models. I believe years and years ago here in Bellingham we had a Bombardier, but I believe Bombardier is actually purchased or owned now by Can-Am, Canadian American.
Yeah.
But I believe they're based out of Canada. I could be wrong on that, but we can certainly do some more research on it.
I know that Bombardier
Bombardier
those are no unintended. They're not trackless, right? They're the rubber tracks.
They do have rubber tracks. You're
Yeah,
absolutely right.
Yeah. Oh, I know. I'm not arguing the point. I just
It's probably better because you don't get stuck.
But in the summer months, it's probably not as good because now you don't have the ability to, you know,
flame off.
Yeah, exactly.
So, not that that's. I mean, frankly, if the price were right,
Absolutely.
because this price is pretty high.
Absolutely.
You know,
Yeah.
you buy a separate one.
And that's what we were looking to do. That's exactly the path that we were going down.
So tell me about when do you use the plow versus the snow blower?
Oh, great question. So it depends on the snow. You know, depending on how quickly we get out there. If the snow has had the opportunity to maybe melt down, refreeze, you know, sometimes the V plow will break through that layer of crust. You know, we'd like to get to a point, hopefully we will, now that we have 2 additional people scheduled to be in the DPW to also send this out before the snow gets too much out there. But really what we're experiencing at the current time, and always have been, is these machines go out after the storm is done. So we clear the roads first and foremost, we send the sidewalk machines out afterwards. Now you're up against it. You've got a foot of snow that hasn't been touched the entire time, and that's where a lot of the use and abuse comes from. So you have a tremendous amount of snow you're trying to push with a small piece of equipment that's prone to breaking as a result. So it's to answer your question, it really depends on the situation, how quickly we can get out there, if the snow is refrozen, if we have to bust through it, or we can simply put the snow blower on there and send it.
It kind of begs the question of why bother with the snow blower?
Yeah, so yeah, again, great question. So the snow blower is the preferred method because it will get the snow out of there. However, you do have to pay attention because if you're throwing it too far into somebody's yard, there's another problem associated with it. But this snow blower, it by far does a much better job with what we're trying to do. I'd say, historically speaking, obviously last year was not a good example because fortunately we didn't get a lot of snow. Years prior, the snow plow would probably go out, 1 to 4 ratio. It would be 4 times that the snow blower would go out compared to 1 time the snow plow. Realistically,
I'm only thinking because the snow blower is more prone to being.
yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of moving parts on the snow blower.
There's a lot of sidewalks.
Yep.
I think the one on Center Street, for a lot of the sidewalk on Center Street is a piece of crap. I don't even know how a snow blower works through that.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times they'll actually lift it slightly so they're not digging into the
kind of defeats the purpose.
And it does. Hopefully the salter will melt the rest of it.
Hence the need for the salter.
Yeah.
Again, this is what we have. We're just trying to get to the point where we should be.
So is this replacing one?
This is replacing, yes.
Yeah. How many do we have?
In total, we have 2. So currently we have 2. We have a multi-hog and a trackless MT6. This would replace the MT6 with an MT7. Again, the only difference. Multi-hog. The other one is a multi-hog. It's a different brand that we tried, and I've got to be honest, right out of the gate, it was more problematic. We had a lot of recalls with it, so it was down for a bit of time for repairs. That didn't cost us money, cost us time. So fortunately, it was during our off season. We were able to offset it with sending out the trackless for the brush clearing. But if it were in the wintertime, it would be very problematic. And speaking to the operators, the multi-hog doesn't have quite the power behind it. It seems like the trackless has a more powerful motor. It can actually send that snow, when you try to do the snow blowing operations.
How old is that one?
The MT7,
No.
I'm sorry, the multi-hog, it was purchased since my time here. I would estimate about 2019-ish we purchased that.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's not tremendously
How
old.
old is the MT6?
MT6, that one I can give you an exact. That is 2014. So again, 10 years, we're looking for a replacement on that. But it does experience a tremendous amount of abuse, I will say. That is a piece of equipment that's prone to breaking. Not just here, that's everywhere. Any other community, I'm sure you can speak to any of the neighbors and anybody that has this style equipment will vouch that it's very prone to heavy abuse and breaking.
So you're going to check into Bombardier and see if they have something.
We certainly can. Yep.
Well, just if it's really prone to breaking.
Yeah.
We're setting ourselves up again, right?
So again, the problem with the
They buy
Bombardier is the tracks. If they have a model that maybe has tires, might be a better option, or the ability. I'm not familiar with the Bombardier. I know what they are. I've never actually run one or quite frankly seen one run more recently. I'm happy to look into it, but I don't even know if they're able to accommodate the side trail.
Oh, I don't think they are.
Okay.
I don't think they are.
And then
I'd be surprised.
I went through.
Okay, all right. So, and to be honest, I didn't look that far into the Bombardier. It was mentioned that we used to have one years and years ago. However, it seemed like the trackless took its place and, multi-use. So that was all.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that multi-use can also become no use.
Right.
Sometimes you're better off.
Yeah, so there's about what-
Right, my lawnmower does one thing, that's grass.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely. And we were trying to go that route. Like I said, I've actually still got it probably at my office. I can pull it up pretty quickly. Information on how we were proposing to go from what we have currently to 2 separate models. And believe it or not, the price was comparable. Talking about the UTV, which didn't fit on the sidewalks. We're about $35,000, fully equipped, heated cab, all that, with the plow, with the snow blower. And then the tractor, like a Kubota tractor, mid-size with the flail, very rugged looking like it would handle everything we were looking to do. Now we have 2 pieces of equipment. It was in line with what a single trackless was. The problem was the width. We couldn't fit that piece of equipment on the sidewalk. So we looked into it and we scrapped it before we got to this point because we don't want to buy something we can't use.
Yeah.
Okay.
You might want to check because I am a little bit concerned. It's a 5-foot plow. and it's a 51 inch, which is over 4 feet. And I'm not sure you got a lot of sidewalks
Yeah,
that are actually, I know 5 feet is like the standard sidewalk,
yeah,
but
absolutely.
you got utility poles.
Yep.
And you there's a bunch of stuff.
Mailboxes.
Yeah, so it's,
And I will tell you, we went out ahead of time and we measured what we have.
Okay.
So it's consistent with the snow blower and the V plow that we have currently. So great question, but we did measure it in advance. We can certainly see if there's a more, a slim version of that, but then you run into the problem now the tires are wider than the plow or the snow blower and you're driving over the snow that you're looking to move.
Mhm.
So, and I completely agree and understand with what you're saying.
okay. What else we got?
Okay, we had a couple other items in here, proposed for, maybe, a future request, pushing it down a little bit farther. I don't know if you want to run through those as well. There's a tow behind air compressor.
It's under 50, that's over, that's. We had compressor, it's under 50.
Correct.
We only deal with stuff over there.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, thank you. All right, moving on.
So you got a wood chipper.
Wood chip.
I proposed it last night, I'm kind of in that mindset right now, thank you.
You got a wood chipper for 76,000.
Wood chipper, yes, so this is our,
We have a wood chipper right now, right?
one and only, yes, yeah, exactly. Again, it's not a burning urgent matter. We were talking about, maybe putting it on for 12 to 36 months, for replacement. We don't have a tremendous amount of issues with the wood chipper, however, it is our one and only.
How often? Other than after a hurricane or something, where you got a bad snowstorm, you know, a lot of tree.
Correct, yeah.
Limbs down and you go down the street and pick up everybody's stuff and put it aside.
Yeah, so, I mean, again, it's only got 209 hours in total, just looking at the age, it's something to put on the radar, if we wanna consider replacing it at some point. It wasn't a burning urgent matter to get it out there this time, it can still
You know,
operate,
you get 209 hours.
exactly.
Come on, Jesse.
2001 though, it's 20,
I don't care.
22 years old, just putting it
As
out there.
long as it's running and working, bearings are good on the drum.
Although we're not talking about it today, but the air compressor's on that list simply because the age, we can't get parts for it. So I wouldn't be surprised if at some point, I'm not saying that the wood chipper's quite there, but again, something put on the radar. It's not always, as obvious as you might think. Getting parts for it.
How many jackhammers can you run off this compressor that you're proposing?
The one that's being proposed to.
So,
Yeah.
How many can you run off the one you got?
Two. Yeah, looking to
Okay.
replace it with something
it's not
similar.
a big Ingersoll.
Right. But when it goes down, then what do we do,
Rent one.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, the contractor you're friendly with, borrow his.
Yeah. And what you'll see, we'll get a little further into it with the water request, but some of what we're trying to do is, also incorporate PTO tools, hydraulic driven tools. So we'll get into it a little further, but for that reason exactly, the redundancy. If we lose such an important part of our fleet, it's been reliable for the last 20 years, but the day that it's not becomes a problem. So we're just trying to incorporate redundancies, maybe different means for running the equipment to get ahead of it. Next up, it's kind of atypical for capital, but it's additional paving. Actually, both of you are aware, we're on the road committee together. This is a request to do additional paving because we're potentially pulling from the general fund to offset the amount that's needed for it. Keep in mind, this is a work in progress. We're still running the numbers for this and doing inspections as we, maybe not at the current moment, but this current week we are still moving forward.
So what are we talking about? Is that that's not something that's.
Additional paving North Main Street.
Oh, it is nothing.
North Main Street, yep, correct. So this assumes that we would have, milling and paving from the end of the town center project all the way up to Hartford Avenue. And assuming that, some structures that have to be rebuilt, adjusted to height and things of that nature, assuming that that's the extent of what we have to do. If it's found that there's more work that's necessary, these numbers might be out the window. So we're proposing it. to hopefully go forward with it. However, it's subject to change if we find that it's more.
So I saw
involved.
guys out there
Yeah, popping manhole
last
cover.
couple of days.
Correct. So getting the current condition.
This was catch basins.
Yeah, we don't want to be to a point where we pave it and don't have the structures addressed ahead of time, and then we cut into our new pavement and have to repair it a year or two later. So we want to make sure we incorporate that in the project.
What has the research found so far?
We need it in some areas, so we were anticipating it. You know, that's nothing new. But it's going to be.
So that's. Maybe I shouldn't say this. That's different from what you told us.
As far as.
When we talked about South Main Street before.
Yep.
Talked about catch basins.
Correct.
Manholes and stuff.
Yep.
And I thought I was wrong, maybe I'm wrong, but I thought you had told us that you guys had done a pretty good inventory and you thought they were okay.
Good question. So the difference is we went through the issue items on North Main Street. You are correct. We did replace, we had a company in actually rebuilding these structures. What we're finding is not only do we have stormwater out there, we also have sewer out there. So while some of the structures were replaced, they were rebuilt, we have others that were not addressed at that time. So what we're finding now is some of them are minimal, others might need, you know, more extensive replacement. So to answer the question, yes, they were taken care of, but not all of them, including sewer.
The sewer back then when they put that in, block or they used
Precast, no, I'm sorry.
I would think they were precast units.
No, I believe a lot, correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of the issues that we're seeing right now is the blocks themselves are deteriorating.
It's hard for me to believe because the sewer system's not that old.
Right,
I thought
right.
it was back in the late eighties, early nineties, South North
Correct.
Main Street.
Yeah,
Correct.
but that's not that old.
It's not.
No, back then they'd gotten away. I thought they'd gotten away from building blocks because of the infiltration.
Yeah, I could be wrong. We do have reports. What we're doing is we're going through them all with a pole camera and we're updating our records.
So you're notating whether they're block or.
Everything's on there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll be honest. I haven't reviewed all the videos. I'm just going off of what I've been told today. So
I would think that the sewer would be the one that's.
you could be very well correct.
At least need for repair.
Yeah, normally.
Because and what I've seen them doing is pulling catch basin covers.
Yeah, exactly. Then that's what we're doing. So the covers are being removed. We have a couple of people from the DPW assisting with that. Our project manager has been out there to confirm which ones are in need of replacement, which ones are, you know, fine. They wouldn't need the replacement, but we're getting videos of each of them, uploading them to our system and notating accordingly. So I haven't fully reviewed what's been uploaded just yet, but based off what I've been told, there are a number of structures that might need some sort of work.
And have we talked to the DOT about the bridge?
The bridge.
I raised the issue of, because we're gonna pave from where the center project finished, and the last time somebody paved, I won't say who, because I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like they paved right over the bridge, right over the joints,
Mm-hmm.
and the pavement on the joints is breaking up. Yes? No? Yes. The answer is yes, by the way. And so what we've got is an extra layer of pavement on the bridge, and the joints are paved over. Those joints move.
Yeah.
So the pavement
Correct.
will never rest.
Yeah, right.
So I had suggested somebody talk to the DOT about number one, the condition of the joints, because that would be something, because it's a railroad bridge, might fall under their jurisdiction. And number two, we should understand what needs to be done, if anything.
This is near Depot Street? Is that the bridge we're talking about?
Yeah, so it's a
Okay.
bridge between the bodies of the coast.
Okay.
Because we should be taking the pavement off of that joint, off of the joints, so that, because it won't be flush. Because somewhere along the line, you're gonna have a hole or whatever, because that's what you have now. Somebody keeps trying to patch it, but that's a waste of time. So somebody ought to take a look at that.
Absolutely.
I mean, I drive over it, I look at it, but I haven't stopped to look at it. But maybe I should. But those are, I believe they're seal joints, so they're not finger joints, but they have a rubber seal on them. Got it. So we ought to know the condition of that. We ought to find out, first of all, whose bridge is that? I believe that's a deal. but I don't know that.
Going through the list.
Okay. So what you're saying, so last time I knew, so let's see, 700K from that, 367,000 from operating, so that gets us to $1 million.
Yeah, so these figures were actually refined. I have a copy. It was after these were produced. So we're looking at $590,000 from Chapter 90. This incorporates the leftovers from 23 and 24. It uses up our budgeted $467,000, and we'd be looking at a total of $443,000 from free cash borrowing for a total of $1.5 million.
Okay, so do we actually have an estimate that gets us the 5.4, or is it just,
No, these are preliminary numbers.
okay, so we don't know what it's gonna cost?
Correct. We haven't bid the project. None of that's happened just yet. These are just very preliminary numbers. And again, this assumes that it's what we're expecting. So there are assumptions there.
So when will we know the condition of, because to me, the single biggest thing is probably the drainage structures.
Yep. So we were
We
hoping
gotta
to
know.
have it done a little sooner. The weather has not cooperated. We anticipate that to be done. Sean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think by tomorrow.
Yeah, and they may have finished today, but tomorrow at the latest would
And that's
be.
all the structures.
Yes,
Yep.
as far as I know, unless there were any that they couldn't access for one reason or another, but majority will be done, but we are doing all of them.
Yeah, it sounds like you've seen them. We've had the crews out there, detail officers, and we are popping every single one. We don't want to miss anything. You know, I think to your point exactly, you know, some of what we assumed or had on record showing the replacement previously maybe wasn't as accurate. We're touching every single one of them.
Okay. Moving on.
All right, so we're skipping ahead to parks. Tab 6.
Before we move off of DPW, can we just confirm what you guys have recommended and not recommended so I can update accordingly?
Haven't recommended anything
Yeah,
yet.
nothing.
We haven't
Oh,
taken
so-
a vote,
All right, do you
so
want to
maybe
go
it's a
through
good time to do that. Yeah, there we go.
before we leave this group as it would
Good
be?
thinking, Mary. Good thinking. Okay, so I would entertain, so we have replacement of B9, replacement of B10. We have the replacement of MT6 with MT7. And right now, paving North Main. I will entertain a motion if there is.
We can do them separately or all together.
Okay, we'll do them separately. Okay, so replacement of B9. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second for the purposes of the vote.
Okay, do we have any follow-on discussion? So what I would suggest is if this votes in the affirmative, that we have to get rid of that old truck. We don't want to have that in the fleet anymore. And we take the truck that we're actually replacing, the existing B9, and that becomes your sticker. Okay. Mike, you have a problem with that?
No, I don't.
Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye,
Aye.
nay. Okay, 2-1.
2-1.
That's not over.
Okay. Well, that's why I'm keeping it as a.
Yeah, I know.
But, okay, replacement of B10. Do I have a motion?
Oh,
Okay, Mike, do I have a second?
Second.
Any comments or questions?
truck's not even 10 years old.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Ooh,
Nay.
sounds like I'm gonna be alone on this one.
Mike,
Mike, you voting?
I said aye.
Oh, I didn't hear you, sorry.
I didn't hear him.
Yeah, that's why I said I thought I was gonna be alone there for a minute. Okay. And, okay, let's, the replacement of MT6 or of the MT6 with an MD7.
So moved.
I second.
Any comments or questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So this says a 5 to 10 year life. It's really ought to be headed in the 10-year direction.
The MT7.
Yeah.
What was the other? Is it 11 to 15? I was just concerned because we're talking about.
So you have trucks at 11 to 15.
Yep.
Those trucks ought to be one.
Oh, I see. I see.
But you have the MT7 that's 5 to 10.
5 to 10. Okay.
It ought to be headed to 10-year direction.
Yep. Yep. Understood.
What was the vote?
Actually,
on
it's
that? Did you
CPL,
vote
right?
yes? No.
I voted yes.
So did everyone vote yes?
Everybody voted yes.
Okay.
Okay. And then on the paving of North Main Street. And-
Doctors, did Mary go?
No,
All
Mary,
right.
Talk to us about the funding for the paving, Mary. How are we gonna do this?
So assuming that, so this is the project that we had talked about before, and assuming that we're not going to encounter significant additional expense based on what Jesse just shared with you, the sort of the investigation of the structures. So let's assume in a perfect world that all we're facing is the paving and the project is give or take $1.5 million. The funding sources that we talked about would be Chapter 90 at 590,000. The existing appropriation that is in the FY24 budget for DPW, which has been set at 467,000. And then the remainder would be coming from free cash, which would be about 443,000. So typically, so those would be the three funding sources. Typically, we don't bring an individual road to town meeting as a capital project. But in this particular case, we need to bring it to town meeting because we need the authorization for using free cash. The other two funding sources already exist. Typically, when we do big projects, a lot of road projects, what we do is bundle them up and do a bond issuance. And so a couple of years ago, we did a $5 million bond in order to tackle a couple of projects. We're not proposing right now to do another big bond issue. We were proposing, and this is born out of the conversations from the road committee that we had over the course of the last, 6 to 7 months, was that this would be the one project that we would tackle in the 24 construction season.
Right.
So those would be the three funding sources. Now, pending the results of the investigation that Jesse and his team are doing, looking underneath the roadway, if they find significant areas that need to be addressed that cause this cost to go up significantly, then we need to reconvene and we need to talk about it and figure out what we do about it, whether we move forward, what a proper funding source would be. So this conversation is based on assuming what we know is going to be the scope of the project.
thank you, Mary.
On the side, Jesse, Lakeshore Drive.
We are currently on Lakeshore Drive with a water main break, believe it or not.
Yeah, but what about that last quarter mile resurfacing and stuff? You went 3/4 of the way around higher water, you still got,
That was the project,
about a quarter of a mile left to do.
There's no plan.
There's no plan.
No
Oh,
plan.
good.
No.
That ought to make
There's
the
the
people
plan.
happy down there. There's the plan, there's no plan, okay.
There's no plan. Send us more money, we'll make it happen.
Oh, Jesus.
What's the problem?
It is,
Money.
it is the problem.
Man, yeah, but they've been waiting on that project now for 4.5 years to finish, 5 years.
You tell me, Joe, you're on the road committee.
Yeah, I know. I didn't know, with the severity of the conditions down there, you were.
There's a lot of roads that I would love to see happen.
So-
This is what we're proposing for next fiscal year, just North Main Street.
Okay.
So do you guys think that, Jesse, once you finish up with your team and doing their investigation, can you organize a roads committee discussion to determine whether we should be moving forward with North Main Street, or we should go back to the existing list of streets and tackle some of the other side streets and smaller projects until we can figure out how to finance a major project like North Main Street?
Mary, you read my mind. I certainly intend to have a road committee meeting scheduled once we conclude what we're doing on North Main Street right now. So I would anticipate a request for meeting, by the end of this week. Obviously, it won't be this week. We'll go through the proper process, but I'll send something out once the team concludes.
Sounds great.
All right. Okay, next we'll jump into parks. This is a replacement for the existing P1. P1 is a crew cab F-250 two-wheel drive gas model for that matter. I'll note that this vehicle currently is used for summer stormwater operations, things of that nature. When we have the helpers in, they pile into this crew cab and take care of our stormwater basins. What I'm proposing here is that we upgrade again from a 250 to an F-350 four-wheel drive and plan to use it for DPW plowing operations as needed. So again, we've upgraded our staffing. We've gone from 20 to 22, or we will have gone from 20 to 22, and we will need additional vehicles. So for in the grand scheme of things, to upgrade this vehicle from the existing to add four-wheel drive and beef it up to a point where it'll actually handle a plow. Again, it's minimal in the grand scheme of things. Just for conversation, I can run through those numbers again. To upgrade simply from a 250 to a 350, the price difference is $1,000. $49,500 to $50,600. To go from a 4x4, 4x2 to a 4x4, we're going from $46,500 to $49,500. So $3,000 difference in total, $4,000 to go from the existing F-250 two-wheel drive to an F-350 four-wheel drive that we can also incorporate a plow on and use for DPW operations as well. So the thought process behind this is to get a bigger bang for our buck and also plan to use it in the winter time for snow removal operations. At the very least, having a backup truck is well worth it, as opposed to having a truck sit there simply because it wasn't, a plow was incorporated at that time.
No, that's that age-old question. What was that truck?
Yep, great question. So this truck here is a 2013. This truck has 96,000 miles on it, 5,500 hours. So it is higher in miles. I'm not saying it's a tremendous amount of hours.
Well, at least 10 years.
I do have the comps in here, both gas and diesel. However, this truck, there's no need to go to a
You
diesel.
said you don't need to go gas.
Yeah, exactly. I just put them in there for the comparisons.
And the 78,000, the question that covered the plow and the stuff.
Yep. So this covers the snow operator. Let's see. So it's the truck price itself. It's the 8-foot plow, and it's also a lift gate. So the truck that we have currently has a lift gate as well. The Parks Department does use the lift gate to get equipment on there. We don't just when we help out various departments, the lift gate has helped out tremendously. So looking to replace what we currently have.
Okay.
And it does build in as you'll see on all of them, there's a 10% contingency built into that as well. One of the things that we would consider for this truck, there's a need currently for our town carpenter. He doesn't actually have a vehicle. He does need a truck. One of the items that we talked about before, if this goes through, of course, repurposing that truck for the usable life to get him by. So he is currently using this truck in the off season as it is. So our town carpenter does use this truck when it's not in use. What we're proposing is replacing it and just letting him take that for the usable life of it.
Jesse, will any of these will these parks vehicles still be used for stormwater cleaning at all or no?
Not what we're proposing, no. So the replacement would, but the vehicle that we're hoping to do away with, it would no longer be used for stormwater.
Okay.
So whose domain is, when you give it to the town carpenter or whoever, whose domain is that truck fall under?
I believe he's under Tim, if
Yeah,
I'm not
he's
mistaken,
under
Special
building,
Services.
yep.
And again, just for comparisons on that truck, again, it's body, took meticulous care of, the truck itself, the interior is in great shape. This is really just showing that it's starting to bump on the cap corners, these are the common areas. But it's signs of what the truck is used for too. This is a seasonal truck. It doesn't go out in the winter time. It doesn't experience the heavy salt operations currently that the DPW trucks experience. But with our current operations, we would certainly apply the underbody coating, things of that nature. So. And like I said, the idea behind upgrading it is to make that dual purpose. In my opinion, it would make sense if you're going to spend the money to do it, spend the extra and get something that we can use year round.
Okay, the second request, that's from
Fuji is.
future years, yeah. P8,
P1.
Yeah, he's saying it's, you got 120,000 in future years for replacement of P8. This is a plow dump truck.
Oh,
yeah, I'll do a motion on the P1 while we're sitting there.
Yep.
Make a motion, recommend replacing the P1 parts truck, moving it over to the town.
I second.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Since it's just yours, that's it. Okay,
Let's go down to the playgrounds.
so pass right over P8.
Yeah.
Okay. Actually, before I failed to mention it, as part of the price, we've already gone over P10. Just for full transparency on this, when we received the quotes for the vehicles, incorrectly, the salter was placed on P8. So what you'll see is the subtraction on this sheet for P8, but you'll find it on that V10. So it was part of that original price, but just so everybody's aware, they accidentally placed the proposal for the salter on that P8.
so we have it on both?
No, we'll get one.
No, I'm saying it shows up in here.
So it shows up on one place. It shows up incorrectly on P8. I made the modification so you could take that number that they gave us in the Chrome data, and I made the subtraction so you could actually see the figure. So the figure is correct, but that's why you'll see a subtraction on P8, and you'll see it added to
So what's the
P10.
capacity, that's in?
The capacity, it's a full size.
Don't tell me it's a 10-yard.
No, I believe it's 3 yards.
It's only enough 600.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's what I mean.
Yeah. It's probably even said 2.5.
So what are they plowing?
With
P8.
P8. Oh, so currently the way it stands, when our snowplow vendors get called in, P8 also comes into assist. So it'll be various things like the municipals. We have a route, municipals, churches, any of the parks departments area itself, treatment plants, various access roads, things like that. So they do currently plow with P8.
So what do they have right now? What is P8?
P8 is
So
a
they currently have 600.
it's a F550, 2015. So again, this is for future replacement, but it's an F550 2015. It does come in. This vehicle does come in for plowing. Not as frequently as DPW vehicles, of course, but it does come in.
Why was they only 550?
Again, the thought process was make it a little bit more robust. It's not a larger truck; it's just heavier brakes,
How old
heavier
is this
suspension. This is a 15. This is something that we can.
We put out for a couple of years.
I missed the vote, I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
Unanimous.
Did I have them, so-
Was that for the?
P1,
P1.
not V3. We want to jump into Silver Lake Park upgrades.
Yeah, sure.
All right, so this is a request to continue with upgrades at Silver Lake Park. What we've been trying to do in recent times is upgrade the parks as necessary. We've done various upgrades such as swing sets. We've added handicapped accessibility. We've added new tables. This is to continue that process. We actually had a meeting today. Sean was actually able to meet with the vendor today to discuss options. So we're looking at a blanket number of 50,000 for upgrades to the park. We're talking about upgrading the mulch. Various items have come across repeatedly, so we're looking to get ahead, maybe provide a safer environment for the kids. Mulch, playing surfaces, things of that nature.
This is future years.
No, this
No,
is
that's
no,
for
this
this
is
year. For
this
this
is
year,
this year. Correct.
No, I'm looking at the sheet. Doesn't say that's this future year.
Should say within 12 months. It was
Moved up on the selectmen's list.
yeah, it should reflect. It says on the priority high within 12 months.
Need, yeah, TBD.
I don't know, I'm looking at this and says,
Yeah, it doesn't. I know
needed by
it's
TBD.
Yeah.
And it says future years, $50,000.
All right, so we can chalk that up to just a Mary typo.
I was gonna blame myself. Figured I wrote something.
Mary, where does funding source come for that 50 grand?
At this point, Joe, I don't know. So, I mean, we could call everything free cash and once we know what the certification number is, then we'll be able to refine it.
Do we have an ongoing source of revenue from the parking fees for that place? Is there something we could use that's affiliated with that park to help offset?
That's a very good question. There is a special revenue account that has been set up for Silver Lake. And I don't know the balance off the top of my head, but you know what? It's a very good question. And we haven't used it in the entire time that I was there, so it doesn't come top of mind. But I can shoot that balance out to you guys and let you know tomorrow after I've taken a look at it.
Okay, thank you.
Sure, great idea.
That's what you guys pay me the big bucks for, Mary.
Excellent. I love it. Teamwork. Thanks, Joe.
Somebody gonna vote on that?
No, we haven't made a motion
You
yet.
haven't made a motion yet.
Oh, that's what I mean. Are you gonna make a motion and vote?
Alright. I will make a motion to recommend 50,000 for a playground upgrade to Silver Lake, dependent on funding availability.
I second.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, I hate placeholders. Placeholders are just a source of hidden money.
Well,
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
Whoa, Roland. What do you mean? Placeholders are a source of what?
Hidden buckets of money for people to just waste.
okay, so
No,
we already have it. Yeah, we've already got plans. That's why Sean was meeting with them, and unfortunately, the timing was off, but it is something that we are looking at. And as Jesse said, we bought even a mosey mat. Moby mat. And we've been doing different things, the fence needs repair, landscaping. So it's just something that's been, it needs some love.
it needs a
Yeah,
refresh.
I did.
TLC. Yeah.
So the paperwork I have says plans to be developed.
Exactly. So what
Nothing-
happened?
Nothing I have says anything other than give me $50,000. I'll make you happy.
So today we did, I'm waiting on quotes for replacement of the mulch, playground mulch and landing mats. Those are immediate needs. There's concrete exposed in areas along the outskirts of the playground. So those are immediate. We met today, so I don't have the quote right in front of me right now. So those are will be addressed with that 50,000. That's not $50,000, but with that, those are some items.
You know, whatever other upgrades you can accomplish with the balance. Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. The reason it said placeholder is just given the timing and when the books needed to be prepared for you guys.
So it's your fault.
Uh-huh.
Whose fault?
Your fault. You needed the book.
Somehow we're turning it back on Roland.
That's all right.
I want to change my vote.
Sorry.
No. I was silent. I didn't say anything.
Okay, under the water.
All right. Do we want to move on to sewer?
Wait, did you take a vote on the playground? Was that a 3-0?
Yeah, we did.
Okay, my bad.
A buck short.
You're gonna have to plant another money tree, Mary.
Sounds good.
We're counting on the Powerball, the 1 billion.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
good luck.
Let me know how that works out for you.
Yeah.
I don't think that'll cover Jesse's capital plan.
Probably not.
Okay. Sewer.
All right, sewer. We are looking to continue with the replacement of Old Bridge sewer. This was something that we funded to have designed.
Where is this?
Old Bridge, it's actually about a stone's throw away from the DPW. So Old Bridge Lane, just before you're, so
The
on
new
Blackstone Street.
DPW or the old?
The old, the existing, yeah, the old, the current DPW.
So this is the kind of a.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So you pull just before, if you're coming from Mechanic Street on Blackstone Street, on your left-hand side would be the DPW. Just before that, you would have Old Bridge Lane. Take that left. Actually, it might not be Old Bridge Lane at that point because you turn off of it. That's Old Bridge Lane. That wraps around, and it's just around the corner. In the grand scheme of things, it's kind of a smaller scale station. However, it's been very problematic. We move forward with the design and engineering. This is currently in the works. We had our pre-bid consultation, so the people that were interested in the project did have the opportunity to look at the site. We anticipate bids to open for this on November 1st. So we'll have that.
So there's the pump station there.
Correct. Yep. Exactly. So this is a replacement for the existing pump station.
So that's coming out of sewer enterprise.
Correct. Yep.
So no, whoa, I'm gonna jump in there. So the intent is that the sewer enterprise will cover as much as it can, but historically the sewer enterprise has not been generating retained earnings to this level. Given the necessity of this repair, as it's been communicated to me, I would be looking at doing a general fund subsidy to make up the difference.
So what exactly are we doing?
It's a full replacement. So essentially, this is a can station that's in existence right now. It's a suction lift style station. We've had chronic issues with this station. What we're looking to do is take that station and replace it with submersible pumps. Much easier to work on, much easier to get parts for. They're more tried and true, if you will. This is
Who the hell put in a suction lift in the kitchen?
The idea behind it. Correct. This is something we inherited. This is a station that we inherited.
Now, is there association on the hook for any of this money?
So I'd have to look into the history a bit more on this station, but I believe when there was sewer brought in from the DPW, we took the station over at that point. Don't quote me on that. There's a history there. I don't know. I know exactly.
You're exactly right, by the way. I remember.
Okay. All right. Yeah. That was my understanding on it.
I remember.
Okay. But yeah, so there's a lot of moving parts with the suction lift. You essentially have a vacuum
Oh, I know
compressor
what
that
it is. It's a piece of crap. No pun intended.
yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, so you're clearly familiar with these stations.
Ugh.
So we're looking to go with something that has less moving parts. It's a submersible, meaning for those of you that don't know what a submersible style sewer station is, the pump itself sits in the liquid and it has one function, two if you count the grinder. It just forces water out where the liquid's out, the solid's out. As opposed to having multiple moving parts where it pulls it up, hits a probe, switches over, pumps out. There's a lot of moving parts. The idea behind it is safety. Everything's located above ground. However, we have crane trucks. We have the ability to pull these submersible pumps out of the wet wells.
Do we have standards in our sewer?
We do.
Stuff.
We do. Yeah.
Do
Yeah.
we have standards that say no more lift
We
stations, no
recently
more?
changed those.
Okay.
You're gonna love to hear that.
Yeah.
So I will I will touch upon that because it may come up again someday. There were two approvals that happened before this change took place. So we will. This isn't the end of the suction lift stations. We actually have two others in town currently. Dupree Sewer is one of them, as is High Ridge. High Ridge is a suction lift.
Dupree down.
Dupree, the brand new one?
Again, the regulations get changed afterwards. Moving forward, they're not going in, but that was our spec. So it's no longer our spec.
Our spec was the suction lift.
Suction lift.
Really?
So now,
They work.
Okay.
There are communities that swear by these.
Yeah,
They-
yeah.
they have
There are
a-
a lot more communities that swear at it than swear by it.
That has been my personal experience with these sound stations. I agree with you, but we're looking, we have changed our model, our spec on this, so we will no longer be putting in suction lifts.
Okay.
That is something that Don and
So
I
we
work
have two
together
more?
on.
We
We
have
work
two more
together.
disasters that pending before us. Do we know all this? Are there only two left?
There are only two left.
And one of them brand new.
Yes, yeah.
How was the other one?
Well, there are two currently, but there are two, what I'm saying is there are two more that are going to be going in. That are gonna have suction lifts, so we'll have a total of four.
Where do no other two go?
Red Mill, is proposed to have a suction lift, as is, Bungay Brook.
And the hits just keep on coming.
We worked together to change this. I mean, the idea behind it, like I said, it was well warranted. Everything, salesmen, they'll sell you anything.
So let me ask you this question. For the two that aren't currently in place yet,
Mhm.
what would be the difference in cost to put in what we want now?
So we've already approved their plan for.
I understand that,
Mhm.
but they're gonna spend X amount of dollars to put that in.
Mhm.
So I would rather put a little bit of money towards putting the right one in than having to eat the whole thing 5 years, 10 years down the road. It's your
It is a good point, absolutely.
point. So what is the difference in cost to do it right the first time?
And I couldn't, it might, to be honest with you, it might even be cheaper.
Well, why don't we look into that, get it,
Yeah.
and look at that possibility?
See if we
I
can-
mean, I hate to
Certainly,
throw
yeah.
good money after bad.
Right. No,
Bad
So,
Yeah.
I mean, for all we know, we ought to have a discussion, somebody ought to have a
Yeah,
discussion with development, because they might have done it because that was our regulation.
Yeah, and if
Yeah.
they
It's
can
like,
do.
oh, by the way,
other
we'd
one.
rather do this, because you're right, it may be cheaper.
right. I don't disagree.
Put that on your list, Sean,
For
just
somebody.
to remind Jeff,
brought the wrong card today.
Yeah.
just to remind Jesse tomorrow.
So, yeah, so yeah, to talk to both of them, yeah, we can do that.
To see if they want to convert to the upgraded thing.
Yeah,
And if
absolutely.
it's the same price, even better for us.
Okay. Let me ask that question.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I
And-
thought of that answer.
I'm glad you did too. Okay. Well, anything else?
On this side here. So we'll have final figures. Again, this is estimated value on this project. We'll have figures ahead of town meeting, November 1st is when bids are planned to be opened.
So this stormwater, this flood mitigation stuff, is this from?
Do we want to vote on this one first? Because
Oh,
Old Bridge.
yes, yeah. Okay, I'll entertain a motion on replacing the sewer pump station in Old Bridge Lane.
So moved.
Second, okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
So this flood mitigation stuff, is this part of that money that we got for? She's looking at me funny.
No, say it again.
This flood mitigation stuff in future years. Green Acres flood mitigation, Newland. In Lazat, 2,305,000.
Thought we did that, I thought we did stuff on, that new one, avenue development.
Mary?
What was the road?
So
Was
these,
it- Go
I'm not sure specifically what you're referring to Roland, but these projects have been on the capital program, if you will, for a number of years. We had tried to apply for, it's not a TIPS grant, but it's a something else. The acronym is escaping me. Don tried to apply for a state grant to address these projects and we did not qualify.
But I thought that, remember there was a federal thing that came out?
The brick grant.
Yeah, I thought we did work on Newland Avenue before they paid it, Newland was
I don't know. I thought we were using that, I wanna say,
ARPA?
yeah, whatever, remember there's a bunch of money that came out of the feds.
ARPA.
ARPA.
So we did use ARPA for some flood mitigation that was down at Standish and Cedar Hill.
Oh,
Water
it's
mains.
going wide, yeah.
I thought it was gonna,
I thought we did work down that road.
Clearly we did.
Before we paved the road.
yeah, well.
No.
Lake Hiawatha flood mitigation, 970,000, that's rebuilding the road, I assume.
Lake Hiawatha needs pretty substantial upgrades.
And then flood mitigation at Milton was at 2,305,000.
And so those numbers are a couple of years old.
Okay. What else you got?
So stormwater asset management program. This is in conjunction with a grant for $89,000, just under $90,000. They're looking for a funding match and what they call in-kind service estimates. So this is to develop a stormwater asset management program. It'll evaluate the condition of drainage infrastructure in town and develop an associated risk-based capital improvement plan.
Under 50.
Oh, never mind. Thanks, Joe.
Well, that's the match. That's the match.
No, yeah, it's 59. Yeah, sorry, 59,880
I got 43,180.
plus the 16.
Plus the
7.
16. So the
what's
six,
what's the real number?
The total is 59,880.
but
It is
only 43 of it would be funded via a capital request. The 16.7, Joe, is in-kind services, which is town labor. So it's us assigning our
Right, on the
staff.
project over 50. We're just doing it with what offsets.
So what are we gonna do? So what are we gonna do? What is this?
it's developing a stormwater asset management program. So essentially,
For the entire town?
yes, yeah, that's goes into detail. The existing culvert mapping is incomplete. Perform a desktop and field assessment to build a more complete culvert inventory that includes condition and ultimately critically scores prioritization and recommended actions. So the whole project written proposal is included. It goes through each step of the process, but it's a comprehensive plan to evaluate the condition of our stormwater system and implement a plan of attack for recommended replacement repairs, things of that nature.
So is Ty and Bond actually gonna do this, or is this gonna go to RFP?
Ty and Bond is they've already gone to what do you call it? They've been our stormwater MS. Yeah, they're already. We've gone through the process for selecting a qualified consultant for that. So it is Ty and Bond, yes.
When was the last time we did compete on this kind of stuff?
I would have to look at the records. Off the top of my head, I don't have an answer for you. Would you like an answer?
I would. Okay.
Money for this coming out of our yearly appropriation for stormwater management.
That was the anticipation.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
So move.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Moving on, we are into tree warden. This is right at 50,000. Was keeping me on my toes.
Mid tree.
Continuing on with what we've done for a handful of years now, since I've been involved in conversations with the tree warden. There's still areas that could use removal. We included some of the locations here: North Fields, Pilgrim Village, Harpen Street, Rentham Road, Water Treatment Plants, Access Road, and Access Road for wells 1 and 2 are actually the same road, but also 5 on Taunton Street. So continuing with the removal in the areas where there are dead trees.
So Northfield.
How many dead trees do we have left?
Too many, Mary.
Oh, this-
We have
Yeah.
been doing this for 5 years.
We should probably just add it as a 50,000 budget item.
They already have a
Oh.
budget.
It just seems like, yeah, I mean, it's been going on for quite some time now.
So the Northfields are the soccer fields up there, right?
Mhm. We actually had a tree come down on the North Fields on our shed, destroyed the shed. So there are dead trees up there.
Yeah,
Wiped out the shed.
yeah, we did that.
That's 2 years ago now.
Yeah, it was 2 years.
Pilgrim Village.
Hey, we leave Pilgrim Village alone.
All right, so moved.
Second,
Yeah. Go ahead, Mike.
oh, I thought you were making I thought I heard you say a motion. Sorry.
I said, I'll make a motion.
He did make a motion, Mike.
Oh, yeah, so moved. Second, I mean, sorry.
That's all right.
No problem.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. So Hartford Street.
Yeah, from what's been reported, there's a need on Hartford Street too. Yeah,
Really?
yeah,
Really?
yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be done by the curve before you turn into,
Off the South Main.
yeah.
I don't know. Well, if this is any indication, Mary, to answer your question, we must be running out of dead trees.
One can only hope.
Because I can't imagine there's a whole lot on Hartford
Hartford
Street.
Street, right? There's a lot of open space there.
Yeah, it'd be nice to repurpose our funding elsewhere. If we
Yeah,
can get
Might have
finished
to-
with this
Might have to
thing.
have a little bit more information on these in the future. We were given more, weren't we given like 150,000 a year?
Yeah, he needed,
we did.
he needed more. We didn't give him everything he needed to finish up.
Yeah.
They said we're gonna carry over 50,000 to this
Yeah,
fiscal
and
year.
it was a huge project. Remember, they needed
Oh, yeah.
And there's
a
still,
lot more.
Yeah, it was like
Yeah.
5 years at 150,000.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
there's still some,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I know.
street.
Yeah, I know.
I didn't realize
drive
it was 5
on
years
it
of
every
that.
day.
I was
And then
aware of
look.
the stump grinding that took place. I was gonna say maybe that was a portion of it, but 50, it has been, it was what I've experienced.
Wasn't it after one of the blights went through that
Yeah.
started it?
Gypsy
Gypsy
moths.
moths. Yeah, that it
Okay,
decimated them.
water.
Hey, water. There is an item added. This was actually in it wasn't properly. Oh, actually, you don't want to hear about it anyways. It's 25,000. So we got BW12 establishing a new truck. This is
What? $213,000?
yeah. So the idea behind this, just so you have the history, we were trying to mimic what we have for our water brake truck currently. So as you'll see here, this is proposed as a water brake plow truck. Our intent was to repurpose the existing as a sewer purpose truck. The existing has a crane on it. It's got a complete body, plow itself, obviously, inverter, things of that nature. But this also incorporates onboard air, and it also has a tool manifold PTO. So touching upon what we were talking about, having the redundancies with the tools, having this PTO, we would have the ability to run, we've got a guillotine saw, for example, hydraulic.
Hydraulic, so.
Correct. So the alternative would be to purchase a piece of equipment like a hydron that would power the tools, but there are benefits to the hydraulic. When you have your ATS saw and you're cutting,
Well, stuff to replace when it goes bad.
but there's less moving
Cut the
parts.
hose, blow fitting.
But there's less moving parts, and also you're not in a hole now with exhaust fumes going. The saw is waiting there, ready to go. You can talk to somebody in the hole and things like that. But the guillotine saw, for that matter, it needs the PTO to run. So to do currently, we are making do with what we have. We jump it off of our mini excavator. So they'll dig the hole, they'll tap into the fittings on the mini, they'll use the guillotine saw, cut the pipe, and then swap everything back over. It's less than ideal. So
Yeah.
I'll admit this is a hefty price, but there's a lot built into this as well. This is a very well equipped truck.
Now, what size truck is this one?
F600.
Why?
This truck needs, at the minimum, it would have to be a 550. simply because it's got a lot of very heavy duty pieces of equipment on it. The crane in and of itself it's extensive. You know, it's if you've seen BW11, which would be a very comparable truck, it has the extended riggers. Yeah. So it's in line with what we have existing. However, at that price, you know, a $3,000 upgrade to get a more robust platform, it seems to make that sense. Again, it is a gas engine. Saved a little bit of cost there, but this is again equipped with crane, onboard air, 9-foot plow, and PTO tool manifolds.
All right, so what's it?
I do have the estimates included. Again, I have gas and diesel just for charges. The diesel max make it in.
I can't make these numbers work.
Yes, that's okay.
Because I turned the page and it says, basic, well, plan about the project. It says 194,316.
Yep.
And then they're adding 8 to 10%
Contingency, correct. That's my handwritten scribble there.
So where's the breakdown on all this stuff that's going on the $55,000 truck?
This is the breakdown. So, so the downside to how they supplied it. This is through McGovern. They gave us a breakdown of the truck itself, everything that's included with that. But the the following equipment is installed by JC Madigan Equipment. That's talking about you know, the body, the crane, things of that nature. So
I'm looking for that top.
and that was something that I wasn't able to get from them at that time. I did request, you know, I said the same thing. It's a little vague. The crane was proposed to be similar to what we have existing, the compressor, things of that nature. I actually tried to go directly to, well, not myself, the mechanic tried to go directly to JC Madigan. However, they wouldn't take it out because this is through McGovern.
The existing truck you have,
Yeah.
that have onboard air.
It does not. It does not have onboard air. It would be nice to have. Correct. So the onboard air is handy for smaller scale situations where you don't need the full blown tow behind air compressor, blowing out curb boxes, for example, maybe running some smaller tools that don't need, you know, full blown diesel engine tow behind air compressor. So this was something that we were hoping to incorporate as part of the package.
Yeah, you know, I'm gonna speak for myself.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's this growing trend in our town. We got new police chief, new fire chief, new DPW, and everybody is going like, let's go plate. All trucks get bigger, fire stations, everything gets bigger. Let's just keep going. Oh boy, you know, everything's great. Let's go. And then at the same time, it's like, okay, we got to pay for this somehow. You know, and I'm looking at it saying, okay, so what's the big difference here? Why don't we tow a compressor anymore? You're asking for a compressor to be replaced. So am I going to get away from all that? I get rid of that compressor?
Right.
I'm not going to. I know I'm not.
Yep, exactly.
Because you're going to say, oh no, I need the extra power of that tow compressor.
Yeah, and keep in mind this air compressor is a small scale air.
I understand, but I also understand that I'm paying $73,000 for a truck and $120,000 for the body and equipment.
I don't buy that. I want to see a breakdown. And they're gonna come and give me a total price. I want to see.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, I don't buy this on that crap. It's not reasonable.
So that's, I mean, I'm all for having the equipment that we need. Need is the operative word.
There's gonna be somebody besides JC Madigan that does this stuff.
More than happy to reach out to them. Like I said, we did try to obtain it in advance of this meeting. I don't disagree with you.
You know, the downside is nobody wants to create specs because they think the easy way out, we're gonna get it off the state bid list. I have found, you know, in the past when I did stuff, yeah, the state bid list is a good guideline. I go up and talk to vendors, talk to people who do this stuff.
They are on the same list.
I understand
Oh,
that.
okay.
I
Okay.
understand that.
Yep.
Talk about JC Madigan for all the add-ons. You go out and you talk to guys who are in this business. They're not the only guys doing this stuff.
Right.
You know, talk to somebody else, so that's why you need a list of the specs that they're providing you.
Yep.
And then you have a base that you can go out and talk to people in the business and say, what can you give me for a price on this stuff?
Yeah, more
Give
than
me a
happy
bid,
to.
you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it seems odd that a utility body with a crane on it is gonna be $114,000.
Yeah, I know the crane itself is very expensive. I don't have a figure for you because they built it all into one lump sum, and I don't disagree with you. Breakdown.
Yeah, they buy it from other vendors and they add 15 to 20% to it.
But yeah, again, more than happy to
See
pursue
if
that.
we can get that definition.
Yep, not a problem.
Well, the truck that this is replacing,
No,
It's
not
not,
replacing.
this is new.
This is new.
it's new,
This is
because
new.
the one that is going to the sewer
Sewer
department.
department. That'll remain BW11, however we code it. I put BW12 on there, again, in line with the additional employee.
So does every employee get a truck? Is that how we do this?
Two
Well,
trucks.
in
Two
the
trucks.
winter
Pick up
operation.
truck in the summertime and plow roads.
Morning shift, afternoon shift.
I'm starting to believe you. Don't say that.
That's why Jesse would like to see.
Absolutely.
an
And that's the
inventory
other thing is,
of the whole
every
staff.
single truck you're proposing, every single one is hooked up to plow.
Yeah,
And I can't believe for 1 minute that everyone's gonna plow.
every one of the trucks. Well, again, at the very least, redundancy. So if we're
I know,
going,
but you know what? There's a
Uh,
limit to
I don't
redundancy.
know. Yeah,
Good lord.
but
What you'd like and what we can afford.
and again, with something like the Parks Department vehicle, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, we're talking $3,000 to upgrade the truck to something that can take a plow. If we didn't go that route and we had a perfectly good truck sitting there and maybe a couple disabled, I mean, it would be very beneficial to have it at least equipped to do that. Maybe we don't move forward with the plow portion of it. It's certainly something we can consider, but what we're trying to do is keep the fleet uniform too. So in the event of a breakdown, we can always take a plow that's maybe not in existence or in use at that time.
Yeah, but the price of some of these trucks, Jesse, versus what you pay for a plow for hire.
Especially with how much snow did we get last year?
I don't have an argument there.
It's like,
I know.
I'm sitting here saying, I have a plow.
So we have all this extra money.
I have a pickup truck with a plow.
We have all this extra money from like
Ask me how often I've used it.
Yeah, I know.
There's a lot of landscapers running around with the 1-ton pickup trucks with plow accessories on them.
So with that in mind, we do have our signboards up. If you haven't noticed, it does actually say plow truck drivers wanted. Apply at Bellingham DPW or BM DPW. So we are aware of that. We are trying.
You want plow trucks wanted, not plow trucks drivers.
Or yeah, whatever it says. Plow
Because if
truck
somebody
drivers.
drives by, somebody comes to work for the DPW.
Right.
Then, you want to sign up there, it's gonna say, we want to hire you.
So, yeah, so I wanna go back to this.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so this is a new truck
This is a
that
new
we're
truck.
adding.
Yeah.
And I hate the argument of, well, I'm hiring 2 guys.
No, that's just a piece of it. Yeah, exactly. We would designate this as strictly the water brake truck. So essentially, we have a BW11 right now. That is our water brake truck. This is a more capable version just because it has additional items. But we would repurpose the existing BW11 as our sewer truck. We don't have a sewer truck.
So what do we do about that?
Right now, we separate, we combine efforts. So in the event that we've run into it, we have an installation going and we're dropping a hydrant. We have that capability with the crane, things of that nature. A sewer pump is clogged at that time. We have to stop what we're doing and go revert to the sewer operation, pull a pump, things of that nature. So it does happen. It's not like this is
No,
something
wait a minute. I've saw plenty of hydrants in my lifetime.
Mhm.
We always used a bucket on the backhoe.
there's various ways to do it.
Because you
Absolutely.
had the backhoe there anyway, digging the hole and backfill.
It really depends on the crew, how they're doing it, the circumstance itself, sometimes it does make more sense to use the backhoe, sometimes they'll use the crane.
I mean, I hate to be buying a truck just because we're gonna install hydrants. But we gotta have a backhoe.
That's
there
an
anyway.
example.
I
That
think
is
you
a single,
used an example,
just
and
an
frankly, it wasn't a great example, because I don't know how far out that crane reaches.
it's pretty far.
Really?
Yeah, if you haven't,
Because I've seen the one that you have now. It
it's,
doesn't look like it goes out that far.
it's pretty big, it's a telescopic boom, that goes up pretty far.
Yeah, the further you go in that telescopic.
The less you're able to pick
weight
up.
you're-
Absolutely. Well aware.
Okay, so that's, I just, I don't know,
Yeah.
I'm voicing an opinion.
Yep.
It's probably not one that everybody else has, but I just look at this, it's like, okay, there's no end to this, it's almost like we're buying a vehicle per person. How many vehicles you got versus how many people staff you got?
Right, yeah, and the thought process behind, the plow setup and whatnot, yes, it would be a vehicle per person. in the winter operations. That's upgrading it to accommodate everybody that we would have when we're fully staffed.
Okay. All right, so I'll entertain a motion on this, but until I see some additional information, my vote's gonna be.
Okay, I tend to agree with you on that, because, it's $110,000 for a crane and a truck fire, seems like an awful lot.
I second. Same stipulation.
So do we want to table this? I think we should table
I
it.
think we should
Table it, yeah.
Let's take, Mike, we're gonna table it instead until we get the additional information. That's
That's
okay.
good. Yep.
Okay. Do we have anything else?
Yes.
I was gonna go one more thing.
VFP is under 50.
Under 50, we don't do.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm passing over. Well, 11 replacement wells.
So 245 is phase one, that's the design hydraulic.
Correct. Yeah. Yep. Exactly. So this is to replace existing wells. This is right here. So we have well site 11. There are 4 satellite wells that we get a substantial amount of water from, but historically, after redeveloping, going through the process of trying to make them recover, I'm sure you're well aware of how the process works. Surging the wells, adding pantonite, trying to recover what we've lost for capacity. Over the last couple of years, it hasn't come back to where it should be. And furthermore, the quality that's being produced from these well sites has dropped as well. So the water is more turbid, takes more treatments. And at this point in time, we've actually taken those wells offline. Fortunately, we're in a position where we don't need as much water because it's been a rainy summer and we're coming into our lower demand season. We lucked out. So this is keeping within zone 1, so to remain in that same area, we would we're proposing phase 1 of 2. This would be design and engineering to go through the process, filing with DEP, things of that nature, to replace those failed 3 well sites.
So we're estimating that to actually put in the well or wells would be $430,000.
Yes, yeah. The additional cost on that was preliminary estimate, $430,000. Correct.
This going out of retained earnings?
So Joe, the idea would be that it would be coming out of retained earnings, but remember that the capital committee does not worry about funding sources, right?
No, I'm just curious for
Yeah.
my next meeting,
Okay. All right. Anything else?
That is it.
That's it, huh?
Surely you must have something else.
I can come up with more.
Anyone with a crane or?
I'll take 2.
Why don't we get a grove? 40-ton grove for you.
Hey, Jesse, did you say another new item came up?
The other item, actually, it was a mistake. It was the trench box. It's under 50,000, so we did not have to bring that up.
Okay. Oh, okay.
I
I must have misunderstood. I thought you said there was
Oh, we
another
have a
late
trench box
addition.
We do. This is a smaller modular style trench box. The problem with the one that we have right now is it's massive. So if we're going in for a smaller repair, we gotta make a big hole. Exactly. So this is just a smaller scale version of that.
And we got the first 1 or 2 by
Correct.
grant.
Correct. Yeah.
So how many did we get? 2 or 1?
No. So we have just the one.
So we got that by using a grant, just applied for through my insurance. So that was
Somebody
nice.
tell for this one?
We're gonna try it. We're gonna try it. Yeah.
We did try with a recent one, but the grant itself wasn't enough to cover it, and they were pushing for a couple of other items the town needed to use.
Okay.
Okay. Always open to grants.
Okay. Anything else? Did you have a chance to read the minutes?
Yeah.
Mike, did you have a chance to read the minutes?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I will entertain a motion regarding for April, I don't know if you can do April 1.
April?
Can't do April, you gotta do the one.
So we're gonna wait until September 26th.
So moved.
Second,
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, okay.
move to
And,
adjourn.
I have a motion to adjourn.
Wait, before you do,
Oh, okay, Mary.
hang on. I just, for scheduling purposes, I just want to clarify because we have not set another meeting date. So you guys have had 3 meetings where we've gotten through everything, but according to my list, with the exception of 2 items, North Main Street and this BW12 truck. Is that correct?
That is
Yeah.
correct.
Okay, so at this point, I would suggest that we don't book another meeting right now until we can finish getting our arms around what the North Main Street paving project looks like and have a roads committee meeting first before we
Yes,
yeah,
schedule.
yeah.
Okay, all right. Just wanted to make sure that I'm on the same page with you guys. Okay, go ahead,
Now,
Joe.
Mary, do you wanna do the road committee meeting at night? Would it be more beneficial for you?
If you guys need me there, I would be happy to do so.
Well, if we're gonna talk money, we need you there.
Well, the real question will be whether or not it's over 1.5 million.
I think the question's gonna,
1.5, if it's 1.5 or under, she's already got the money figured out. If it's over 1.5 million, then we have to have a discussion.
right.
Right?
Okay.
So we'll invite Mary
Correct.
contingent on what we're expecting for that.
Yeah, that's fine.
That
Just
work
let
for
me know.
you? Oh,
Sure.
okay.
Thank
Mary.
you.
Thanks, Mary.
Okay. All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so we're adjourned.
Can I have my agenda?
You can. There
Thank
you
you.
go. Thank you for